The arena was full. Thousands of aliens cheered, screamed, and stomped their feet. Dust rose in the hot air. The smell of blood, sweat, and fire filled every corner of the stone arena. At the center, a huge alien warrior stood tall 10 feet. Of muscle, bone armor, and heavy breath. He was the princess's champion, undefeated in all battles. His body was marked with the scars of victory. No one had lasted more than a minute against him. Sitting on her high throne, the alien princess watched with cold eyes. Her skin was pale blue. Her long hair was tied in gold rings. She wore a silk dress, and around her stood 6 royal maids. Her face was calm, but inside she was bored. Another fool. She whispered. Then the gates opened. The crowd grew quiet. From the dark tunnel, a small figure stepped into the arena. He had no armor, no helmet, just a human man. He wore a simple black shirt, military pants, and boots covered in sand. On his side hung a small metal blade, nothing like the great weapons of the arena. Laughter exploded around the arena. Is this a joke? He's tiny. He'll be meat in seconds. But the human didn't speak. He didn't look afraid. His eyes were calm, serious. He looked straight at the champion, no fear, no anger. Just focus. The princess raised her eyebrow. Something felt different. The announcer's voice rang out. By royal challenge, the human has stepped forward. He will face the royal champion. If he dies, his body belongs to the beasts. If he wins, he will claim his reward. The crowd roared again. The champion cracked his knuckles and let out a deep growl. I'll crush your bones, little man. Still, the human said nothing. Gong rang. The champion charged, fast like a beast. His heavy blade came down like a falling mountain. The human stepped aside. 1 inch. Just 1 inch. The massive blade hit the ground and cracked the stone. The crowd gasped. The human moved fast, too fast. He rolled under the champion's swing, came behind him, and pulled his small blade. The princess leaned forward. It happened in a second. A flash of steel, a line of blood. The champion stopped. He didn't understand. Then his body fell split cleanly down the middle from head to waist. Both halves hit the ground with a thud. Silence. The entire arena froze. Even the princess stood in shock. No one had ever seen the champion lose. Not once. And now he was dead, split in half in less than 10 seconds. The human stood calmly, his blade now red. He looked up at the throne. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He simply said, "Who's next?" Gasps, whispers, then panic. The royal guards stepped forward, ready to protect the princess. The maids behind her trembled. One of them dropped the royal wine she held. The high priest stepped into the arena, eyes wide. This cannot be. But the old law was clear. A champion's defeat in a public match meant the victor could claim a reward from the royal house. Priest turned toward the throne and spoke loudly. By the law of the arena, the human may now take what is rightfully his. The crowd went wild again, but this time not with joy. With fear, with disbelief. The princess's voice was calm but cold. And what does the human wish to claim? Everyone waited. The maids held their breath. One even closed her eyes. The human looked at her, at the princess, and then looked away. He sheathed his blade and said, "I came for answers, not prizes." Then he turned and began walking toward the gates. The crowd didn't know what to do. The princess sat back, confused for the first time in years. Who was this human? Why was he here? Why didn't he take the reward? And why did her heart beat a little faster when he looked at her? Asterisk. The blood was still fresh on the arena floor. 2 halves of the champion's body lay cold and still, like broken stone. But no one dared to move. Not the guards, not the maids, not even the princess. The human had already turned his back. He walked away like the fight meant nothing. But that's when the drums began. Boom. boomed out the deep sound of judgment. Every citizen of the empire knew what that meant. A voice echoed across the arena, shaking the walls. It was old, dry, and full of power. The law speaks. The high priest stood on the golden steps, holding the scroll of war. Let all witness, the champion is dead. The human is the victor. And by the law of the arena, the victor shall choose blood, throne, or pleasure. The crowd gasped. The maids looked at each other in fear. The princess stood slowly, her voice sharp. This law is ancient, dead. It has not been used in 100 years. The high priest did not blink. But it still lives. Everyone turned their eyes to the human. He had stopped walking. He didn't look surprised. It was as if he had been waiting for this moment. He turned around and said only one word: no. The crowd went silent again. No? The priest asked. I don't want the throne, the human said. I don't want blood, and I don't want pleasure. Then he looked straight at the princess. I want the truth. The princess narrowed her eyes. Truth about what? The human took a slow breath. 10 years ago, a human ship vanished. Near this planet, no answers, no wreckage, no bodies. Your empire said nothing. But now I know, it started here. Whispers ran through the nobles. Some of the royal guards shifted nervously. The human continued. Your champion wore a symbol, one used by Earth soldiers. My people, my brothers. The princess's heart skipped. She remembered. Years ago, her father returned from a secret. War. He said it was nothing, but what if it wasn't? The high priest cleared his throat. Regardless of his request, the law is clear. A reward must be given. The victor must be honored. The house of royal blood must obey. Then he looked up at the throne. His voice was firm. Princess Serena, as the highest-born woman present, you and your court must now serve the victor as concubines. Gasps. The youngest maid nearly fainted. Another grabbed the princess's arm. Princess Serena's face turned pale. You want me to belong to a human? She hissed. The priest did not answer. The guard stepped forward. Not to attack, but to escort. To deny the law is to curse the crown, the priest warned. Even the empress once bowed to a champion. The human shook his head. I didn't ask for this. But Serena raised her hand. Enough. Her voice was low, but it made the entire arena fall quiet. She walked down the steps, slow and proud. Her maids followed, trembling. She stopped in front of the human. He didn't look like a killer now. Just a man, tired, dusty, still holding something back. If the law demands this, she said coldly, then I will follow it. But do not think you've won me. You've only opened the door to something far greater. The human stared at her. He said nothing. She leaned in and whispered so only he could hear. You have no idea what you just started. Then she turned, and the guards led them all away to his chambers. But deep below the arena, behind stone walls and hidden doors, something else stirred. Something locked away for 10 years, and it had just heard the name Earth. The doors slammed shut behind them. For the first time in her life, Princess Serena stood inside a common soldier's quarters. No gold walls, no perfume. Just stone, metal, and silence. She was still wearing her royal silks, but now she felt like a prisoner. Her maids stood close together, their eyes wide, hearts pounding. They had never been this far from the palace without guards or honor shields. No one spoke. Not even the human. He just sat in the corner quiet, still, as if deep in thought. He didn't look at them. He didn't say a word. That silence was more terrifying than war drums. One of the maids, leery, whispered, "Why isn't he touching us? Why did he bring us here?" Another answered, "He's planning something. He must be." But Serena knew something they didn't. She had seen it in his eyes. He wasn't here for women. He was here for ghosts. She stepped forward. Her chin held. "Hi, human. You claim you don't want us. Then why accept us under the law? Still he didn't speak. So she walked up and slapped the table beside him. Speak. Slowly he lifted his head, and when he did, Serena froze, because there were tears in his eyes, not many. Just one or two, but it wasn't weakness, it was rage buried so deep. It looked like calm. I accepted, he said finally, because it's the only way I could stay in the palace without being killed. The maids blinked. What? Serena. He stood up and walked to a bag in the corner. From it, he pulled out a small silver box. He pressed it, and a glowing blue map appeared in the air. It was a map of the palace, but not just the top, the underground levels, hidden chambers, locked vaults, and at the very bottom a human distress signal blinking red. This was sent 10 years ago, he said, and your people covered it up. Serena stepped back. That's not possible. I have proof. I just need access to your lower chambers. One of the maids whispered, that level is sealed. Even royal blood cannot go there. That's why I need you, the human said, looking at Serena. You are my key. For a moment, everything went quiet. The fire in the corner crackled. The wind howled outside the thick walls. Then Serena laughed, but it was bitter. So, this was never about us. No, he said, walking past her. But now that you're here, I suggest you get some rest. He paused, then added, tomorrow. We go beneath the palace, and down there. I don't think we'll find peace. He opened the door to the side chamber and left them alone. The maids turned to their princess. What should we do? Serena didn't answer, because for the first time in her life, she wasn't sure who the real enemy was, the human, or the truth he was about to uncover. The palace was asleep, but deep inside the stone walls, shadows moved. Princess Serena opened her eyes slowly. Something wasn't right. Her royal senses, trained since birth, screamed danger. She looked around the dim room. Her maids still slept beside the cold fire, but the human was gone. She stood silently, wrapping her cloak around her, and slipped out of the chamber without a sound. The hallways were darker than usual. Too dark. She moved like a ghost, barefoot, following a strange sound, a soft humming, mechanical and deep, like a machine breathing under stone. Then she saw it, a faint blue light glowing at the end of the hall. She followed it, down one floor, then another, and then another. No guards, no servants, only old stairs and forgotten stone. She reached a sealed iron door, one that even she had never opened. But it was already open now. Inside stood the human, his back turned to her, surrounded by floating holograms, all glowing blue and red. Symbols she didn't understand. But one stood out clearly. Project Red Sleep, status alive. He didn't notice her at first. His eyes were fixed on a blinking video screen, old footage. Serena stepped closer and saw it too. It showed a human woman, wearing a uniform. Her face was bruised, bloody. She was in a cell. Her voice echoed from the recording. They betrayed US, this planet. They took our men, our tech. We thought it was peace. It wasn't. The video cut out. The human's fist tightened, his jaw locked. Serena whispered, "Who was she?" He didn't turn. "My sister." Her breath caught. Suddenly, the human pressed something on his wrist device. The map changed. It zoomed into a hidden tunnel below the palace. 3 red dots blinked. 3 life signs. Human, cryosleep. Serena stepped back. That can't be. We've searched those vaults for years. They're dead zones. No, he said. You were told they were dead zones, but they're alive, trapped. He finally turned to her. His eyes were no longer just calm. They were burning. Someone in your bloodline did this. And I'm going to find out who. Serena's voice shook. I didn't know. I swear it. I believe you, he said. That's why I didn't kill your champion for fun. I did it to wake the palace up. Just then, a sound echoed down the tunnel. Footsteps. Not theirs. Not friendly. The human shut down the projection. Go back to your maids. Pretend you know nothing. If they catch you with me, they'll silence you too. But Serena didn't move. She looked at him for a long moment. Then stepped beside him. You saved your sister's message. Let me help save the rest. The human blinked just once, but it meant everything. He nodded. Together, they turned and disappeared into the next tunnel, just as the shadows arrived behind them, carrying blades. The air changed the moment they stepped through the last gate. It was colder down here. Older. Dead. The human held a dim light in one hand, the other resting on the hilt of his blade. Princess Serena followed close behind, her silken dress now torn and dirty. There was dust in her hair. But she didn't care. She had seen enough lies. Enough shadows. The tunnel walls were carved with strange symbols, human letters mixed with alien runes. It wasn't just a prison down here, it was a grave. Where are we now? She asked quietly. The human didn't answer at first. Then he stopped and pointed ahead. There. Ahead stood a sealed door made of thick black metal. Its center showed the human flag, half burned. Below it, a warning was scratched in deep letters. Do not wake the red. The human placed his hand on the scanner beside the door. It blinked red, then green. The door opened with a slow, aching sound. Cold mist poured out. Inside was a giant room filled with cryopods, glass chambers lined up like frozen coffins. Inside 3 of them, human soldiers floated in sleep. Wires, tubes, and machines kept their hearts beating. Serena covered her mouth. They were still alive. One of them, a young man, had a scar running across his chest. His hand was pressed against the glass, as if reaching for something in a dream. The human whispered, "That's my brother." He stepped closer, checking the systems. They've been in stasis for 10 years. Their bodies survived. But if I don't wake them soon, their minds won't. Serena looked around. Why would my people hide them here? The human opened a locker nearby. Inside were files, pages of data, logs, experiments. He flipped through them fast. Then he found it. Project Red Sleep, test subjects, Terran Elite Unit, 7 soldiers. Status: 3 alive, 4 terminated. Purpose: extract combat memory, improve royal bloodline. Serena's heart dropped. What does that mean? The human closed the file. His voice was cold. It means your empire was trying to steal what makes humans strong. Our instincts, our fighting skills, our courage. They wanted to inject it into your own kind, to create perfect warriors. She took a step back, shaking her head. No, my father would never. He didn't just know, the human said. Turning to her, he let it. Just then alarm lights flashed red across the walls. The cryo chambers hissed. Motion detected. Footsteps again. This time, not just 1 or 2, dozens. The human grabbed his weapon. Serena moved beside him, and then a voice echoed through the loudspeaker. An old voice. Familiar. Double quotes. So the son finally comes. Just like the sister, but unlike her, you brought the crown with you. It was Serena's father, the emperor himself, was watching. He knew they were here, and he wasn't going to let them leave alive. The first scream came from the maid quarters. By the time the guards arrived, it was already too late. The concubines were gone, all 6 of them, and their collars were left broken on the floor. In the shadows of the palace walls, they ran barefoot, breathless, dressed in stolen armor. Their eyes no longer held fear, only fire. Princess Serena led them. Behind her, the royal maids, the ones once trained to serve tea and smile, now carried weapons. Daggers, spears, even stolen shock blades. They had chosen a side, not the crown, not the bloodline. The human, because he had never touched them, never treated them like pets, never used their title as concubines to take what he wanted. He had shown them something stronger than fear. Respect. And now, They would fight for him. Far below, the human stood between the cryopods, surrounded by smoke. His blade was lit. His chest rose and fell fast. Around him, the Emperor's black-armored elite guards closed in. "You're trapped, Terran," the commander growled. "I've been trapped before," the human answered, raising his blade. "Ask your Emperor." How that ended. One of the guards charged. The human moved like lightning. One slash gone. Then another and another. But there were too many. He stepped back. Then suddenly, screams from above. A ceiling vent crashed open, and from it fell the princess blade in hand. Behind her, the maids. A war cry filled the air. "For freedom!" Leary shouted. They struck fast. The guards didn't expect it. Concubines were never trained to fight, but that was the mistake. They had been trained. Now by him. Steel clashed. Sparks flew. Blood hit the ancient floor. The princess fought side by side with the human. Her movements were rough, but her strikes were sharp. The human grinned once. "You don't fight like a princess," he said between slashes. She smirked. "I'm learning from a savage." A guard nearly grabbed the control panel to shut down the pods, but a maid tackled him into the wall. "Touch them, and you die." It was no longer just a fight to escape. It was a revolt. An uprising from the weakest. From the forgotten. From the ones who were never supposed to matter, and they were winning. But above, in the royal tower, the Emperor watched with burning eyes. He turned to his advisors and said, "Ready the beast. If they want to play rebellion, I will show them why I'm still Emperor." He pressed a button on his throne. Far beneath the palace, something opened. Something huge. Something ancient. And now, it was awake. Asterisk. The ground shook. Not from battle. But from something deeper, something ancient, crawling from beneath the palace. Breathing after 10 years of silence, the human turned his head, slowly toward the stone wall. Cracks spread across it. From the other side, they could hear it. A growl. No, not from an animal. Something worse. A war machine. Something built from human flesh. And alien science. The cryopods blinked faster now. The soldiers inside stirred, their systems reacting to the chaos. But they were still weak. Waking, the human turned to Princess Serena. "You need to get your maids out, now." She stepped forward. "No, I'm not running again." He opened his mouth to argue, but the wall exploded. The beast stepped through. It was twice the size of the dead champion. But this was no warrior. This was a weapon, half metal, half organic. Its arms were shaped like cannons. Its face was human, burned, twisted. No eyes, just a mouth locked open in endless pain. Princess Serena gasped. One of the maids cried, "What is that?" The human's jaw clenched. "It's what happens when you mix a human soldier with royal science." The Emperor's voice echoed through the chamber, cold and sharp. "I warned you, Terran. You were never meant to survive. But now, you'll die like your sister." That was the last straw. The human didn't wait. He charged forward. Alone, the beast roared. They met in the center of the ruined room, blade against claw, fury against fire. The concubine screamed. Serena tried to rush in, but her maids held her back. "No, princess. He's not fighting for victory now." Serena shook with rage. "Then what?" The maid whispered, "He's fighting for us." The battle was brutal. The human was fast, but the beast was faster. Stronger. He was knocked down, thrown into a wall. His blade snapped. Blood dripped from his mouth. But he stood again. And again, until finally, he found the weak spot. He reached behind the beast's skull and jammed the broken blade deep into its control core. The lights in its chest flickered. It screamed once long and terrible. Then it collapsed. Silence. Smoke. The human fell to one knee. Princess Serena ran to him, catching him before he hit the floor. "You idiot," she said, voice shaking. "You're welcome," he muttered with a half smile. Behind them, the cryopods opened with a hiss. The human soldiers slowly stepped out. Alive. Weak. But alive. Days later, the Emperor's tower stood empty. He had vanished, fled the planet like a coward, and a new voice spoke to the people, Princess Serena. But not from the throne, from the arena. She stood beside the human, no longer in silk robes but in armor. The law gave me to this man, she said, but I offer myself now, by choice. The crowd was silent. Then they roared, because this was no longer a story of a warrior who claimed a prize. It was a story of a man who claimed respect, and a princess who chose love. Later, in the quiet of a garden far from the palace, Serena sat with him under the stars. You split my champion in half, she said, resting her head on his shoulder. He chuckled. That's what started all this. She smiled softly. But you split my heart wide open too, and that is what changed everything.